Obviously, we're very glad to be here and still have our season intact and still playing. It's been a good year for us, obviously, and our kids have played really hard, and we've been favored with some good fortune with our health and being healthy going into this time of year. I think that's very important when you get to this point of the season to have your full roster, and we have that. So we feel good about where we are. We're healthy and we're playing well, and it's just one of those things where you just want to get to this time of the year and have a competency and have an urgency and have a toughness, and we have all three of those. So I think that all three of those things give you a chance to win basketball games. So we're looking forward to a tough challenge, and we know that Washington's a very good team. I think you can get into looking at how many bodies they have available, but everyone that is healthy on their team is a very good player and contribute to their success. And Coach Neighbors is a very knowledgeable coach. He does a very good job getting them to play hard, and they play aggressive, and they play in their scheme. So it's going to be a tough game, and we are expecting that, and we wouldn't think anything different being in the Final Four. So we're looking forward to playing the game.
Hello again, Lindsey Kramer from the Post-Standard. In a conference call earlier this week, the Washington coach, Coach Neighbors, referenced a relationship he started building with you, and I assume it was after the first game or after the game this year. You started texting, you have a lot in common, you keep in touch. Could you give us how did that evolve, and did that actually just start after that game, or did you know him before? What do you have in common?
Yeah, well, obviously when you're on a circuit and you run into these coaches, recruiting, we had some common friends that we've been in the same restaurant and things like that. And Coach Neighbors sent out this incredible newsletter all the time. You start reading his materials and things like that. But once we got into the same tournament in Vegas, we really had a chance to really meet. I met him in passing before, and he's just a great guy. We kind of one of those things where you hit it off right away, and we just started talking, and from that point we just became friends and texting and talking on the phone here and there. And I'm following his season. He's following our season, and I just think that he does an amazing job with his team, and kind of the same path I took was an assistant coach and became the head coach. So we've had a lot of things in common, and that kind of linked us together. But he's an amazing coach. He does an amazing job, and to be in this position right now that he's in with the limited roster says a lot about his ability on the coach's kids.
Question right over there.
Hi, Coach. Howard Magdal from Excel Sports. Back in December, ESPNW had reported that UConn had requested a homecoming game for Breanna Stewart, and the program at Syracuse had turned them down. It had been more than a year in the making, so obviously timing wasn't the issue. I was hoping you to take me through the process of how that decision was made, and also if there's any regrets about it, given that you see the quality of your team now, to have that kind of test ahead of the Final Four.
No, time was the issue, because when you schedule about 2 years out, and we had return games, we had home games, and it didn't fit into the schedule. I think that what a lot of people need to understand is that Breanna's a great kid, has an unbelievable family. We're still in touch. I still talk to her. I still text with her dad. He still wishes us good luck, great game. So I think that when it comes down to that, anybody that does this really versed in scheduling knows that every college team schedules about 2 years out. So as Coach said in the previous press conference, it didn't fit in the schedule.
Question right there.
Matt Calkins with the Seattle Times. Coach, how much does this Washington team resemble, or the one you've seen the last 3 games beating Maryland, Kentucky, all those guys? How much do they resemble the team you guys beat earlier in the year?
I think they resemble themselves from them, but we just got off to an unbelievable start in that game. And the game kind of leveled off, and they started playing well, and they exploited some things that we did in our pressure defense on the back end. So I got to give them a lot of credit. Coach Neighbors made a great adjustment. We just made some plays down the stretch to kind of hold on and win that game. They're just a very talented basketball team. I think that when you have players that can score from all spots on the floor, you have a really, really dangerous team, and that's what they have.
Question right here in the front.
Marvin Chambers, Houston Sun, and Women's Whoop Hall. Coach, watching Washington on film, what are some of the things you implemented in your game plan, that first 3 things that you had to take care of business against them?
Pressure. Make sure we keep pressure on them and try to speed the game up. Make sure we're getting to their shooters, on the catch, not after they catch it. And just react to ball, even fingertips, because they're a very good passing team, and their pass fake you make you jump and step back and shoot the three. So we just really concentrating on those three things, and we feel like if we can take care of those three things, we'll have a good chance.
Yep, okay. Question in the back.
Connor Grossman, Daily Orange. Coach, what are some of the challenges in guarding a player like Chantel Ozahor?
Well, the challenge is she's a stretch five. And in a lot of systems, you don't have a five that can step out and shoot the ball at the rate she shoots it. And she's trailing the break, and you kind of get your defense set, and then you forget about her coming down the floor. But we didn't forget about her the first time. We're not going to forget about her this time. She's an amazing shooter. She's an amazing player. She's a very gifted passer. She's a very good talent, and we know that she's the kind of player where the ball touches her hand, she can make a play, whether it's for herself or for her teammates. But she's very receptive in putting the ball on the floor. We watched tape earlier this morning, and she beat us off the bounce 3 times. So she's a very talented player, and we really respect her and respect her game a lot.
Question back there.
Coach, some Oregon State players were asked earlier what it's like guarding Kelsey Plum, and they were adamant that it's never a one-person effort. It's always a 5-player effort to stop someone like her, just with all the picks that are set, help defense, everything like that. Do you feel that's the same? Do you feel the same way? And if so, how many players in the country are like that, where it's really a five-man effort?
It's no question. She's very talented, and she's not. And also too, you can look at her numbers. And numbers are really gaudy. But she's a willing passer. She's not going to come off a ball screen and take a bad shot. You're not going to close her down, and she's going to take a bad shot. She's really dangerous late clock, because that's when she has to go into really attack mode. I think early in the clock, she's pretty much trying to get the offense moving. But anytime she gets a look and gets an opportunity, she's a very good basketball player, and it takes team defense, and you have to scheme it to where you're playing her in a team scheme, but also understanding that she has shooters on the backside of our zones. So it's a challenge, and it's going to be challenging. But hopefully we can continue to do the things that we've done up until this point and stay in our scheme, and we should be okay.
Question right down here.
Mike Merritt from Associated Press. Coach, 2 things real quick. First, you were talking about the texting. Has that been going on since you knew that you were going to play Washington, or is that sort of off limits? Second thing, how is your team different from when you played the first time in November?
We actually text, I think a day before we got here. So yeah, we texted as soon as the brackets came out, and I think that at the end of the day, you want to win the game, but you still have to maintain some kind of normalcy in your life, and Nabe's a good guy, and really I respect what he does, and that's one of those things where I'm not that guy. We're not playing against each other, so we got to put a game plan together and let our kids go and play. I think that we're kind of much of the same. I really believe that. We tried to get our system in early, and we got it in fairly early in this year, and we've been playing the same way since the beginning of the season. I think that what has happened as you go through the season, I think that any coach can tell you when you're healthy. But this time of year, you're obviously going to be a better team just because of your health and your depth. But I think that we're much of the same. But obviously, going on that streak in the conference was really big for us. I think we're playing with a lot of confidence right now.
Question over here.
Gene Wong, Washington Post. Quentin, earlier this week in the conference call, you talked about the influence Coach Aaron Holder had on you at Forestville. I'm curious, is there anything that you learned from him that you apply today still in your coaching experience? And even though you moved away from the DMV, if there's still pride, that you take representing that area?
Coach Holder was, I say this in the nicest way, he was very stubborn. He taught me discipline, because you were going to do it his way or you wasn't going to do it. And I think that's the biggest thing that I've taken from him. You got to be stubborn, and you have to really demand a certain level from your players, and he's been that, and he still is that. And it's so funny. He came down to see us play in the tournament, and he was coaching me then. So he's my coach, and I can tell you he's done a lot for me. He really took care of me when I was young and in high school, and he was a great influence in my life, and still continues to be.
Question in the front row here.
Good afternoon, Coach. Creighton Rab, Syracuse Sports. One of the things, looking through the stats, Washington's a team that tends to go about at least 6 or 7 deep, and you guys You've had 8 or 9 players with regularly about 10 to 12 minutes a game. How big do you believe that depth will help Syracuse in Sunday's game?
Well, it's for us. It's more about being able to apply our pressure. We can make some shots and get into our pressure. I think that could affect the game some, but if we're not able to speed the game up and play fast, it's not going to have any effect on the game at all. So, it really comes down to how we execute our game plan, and if we're making shots, we're able to get into our pressure. I think it could have some effects. If we're not able to do that, it really doesn't matter. So that's why we're really concentrating on finding ways to get into our pressure early, to push our pressure up, to kind of make the game fast.
Question over here.
Lindsey Kramer again from the Syracuse Post-Standard. Your team this year is, I believe, 12-6 against opponents that are either ranked or receiving votes. In other words, you've played some of your best basketball against your best competition. That's a sign of a good team. That's what you want your team to do. But if you had to pick out 1 or 2 characteristics that allows your team to rise to such challenges consistently, why do you think that is?
It's toughness and effort. It really is, because when you're playing against good teams, this time of year, we pretty much know what you're going to run. They know what we're going to run. So once you guard the action, you got to guard the player, and that's about effort. And your toughness comes down to when a team's making a run or you're not playing well. What else can you do to get a W? And that's hard to do. You know, we had some games this year where we had to fight back towards the end of the games and make some plays and get to some 50-50 balls and make sure that we got some weak side box outs when to close games out. And it's all about toughness and effort.